Welcome to another episode of UI5ers Live. I'm Margot Wolny and I'm excited to guide you through this episode. In the first part of this episode, the first part of this episode is all about GenAI code assistance for SAP UI5. Martin Häuser will give us an overview and demonstrate how to migrate a SAP UI5 application to TypeScript using AI support. Great to have you with us, Martin.
Hi, thank you, yeah.
And then we will go over to the test starter. This concept optimizes the test setup for applications and libraries and is available from OpenUI5 1.129 onwards. And Florian Vogt and Matthias Oswald will explain the details to us. Welcome, you both.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Finally, we also read a whole demo kit together at the end, done by me. No, just kidding. And yeah, hello everybody, also from my side.
So you met already Peter Müssig and also Andreas Kunz is supporting me today.
Yeah, I'm also here. Hi.
Andreas, I think you wanted to introduce to the first part of this episode.
Yeah, just a few words about this generative AI stuff that Martin is going to show. So in general, there's a craze about generative AI right now. And of course, you know that SAP is also doing a lot of things. And inside UI5, we are also working on AI topics, for example, AI controls that are used for AI scenarios with a like magic icon and stuff like that and prompt inputs, but also for developers. So those controls would be in applications for end users, but also for developers, we want to have an offering. And this is about Joule, SAP Joule, the AI assistant from SAP inside Business Application Studio. So it's really for developers. And this is available in SAP Build Code. So you need to have that or can use a trial of that if you don't have access. And Joule in SAP Build Code is, well, this guided chat feature where you can use AI features and different teams or different technologies can plug in there. There's, for example, also from Fiori Elements, there's something where you can create applications just from a specification document with AI help. And Martin is going to show what we offer here in this area for freestyle SAP UI5 development. When you have an application and you want to understand it or to develop it further or stuff like that. And this is where our Joule plugin and Business Application Studio and Build Code comes in. I would say over to Martin.
As Andreas mentioned, there's a lot of practical stuff that I can show you, which is why I directly want to deep dive into a quick demo. And what I've prepared here is actually a dev space. I've used the Fiori space since I want to focus on UI5 development today. And I've prepared the basic template of a UI5 application. So it's nothing really special or spectacular. So it's a empty UI5 app. I've already started it. You can see it just have the title UI5ers Live Demo. And as Andreas mentioned, what we want to focus on is the part for UI5, Business Application Studio and Joule. So you can see besides on my UI5 app on the left-hand side in this icon top bar, I have this Joule diamond. I will click on this and I can see I'm getting this nice pop-up here that says, "Hi, I'm Joule, your digital assistant. How can I help you?" And before I start now prompting, just I want to give you a brief idea and overview that you can see already. As Andreas mentioned, there's like a lot of functionality that's being developed right now. And you can see there's plenty of different commands and recommendations on what you can do with it. So we especially want to focus on the lower part here on /UI5 and /UI5 TypeScript. So you can already see I've got an UI5 application in my workspace, and Joule is already here intelligent enough to recognize this and provide that most likely the /UI5 commands are the ones that are interesting for my project. So I want to start with these actually. So I can select the /UI5 command, get assistance for SAP UI5 topics. And I can see I already get like some ideas on what I can do with it. I can see it's prefixed here with /UI5. This is also what I'm referring to when I'm using the term / commands. It's these commands that we use before we actually trigger a prompt to Joule, and we can see it like gives you some ideas. You could, for instance, add a control and an event handler, such as a button that opens a message box. Or another thing is also that we could also ask Joule what the code selection in my project does. So this is also the awareness that it recognizes the project and the files that you're currently working on, and also gets an understanding of your project. So what I actually want to do is I want a little more than just a message box. So what I want to do is I want to add a table which is bound to a JSON model. This should include data about the European Soccer Champions League. I'm not too much of a soccer fan myself, so hopefully the data is correct. I hope you can judge, including clubs, their placement, and goals as columns. Make sure to add 25 rows of data, add proper documentation to your code suggestions. So you can see I'm also not really specifying too much information on how I want to do that, but you can already see as soon as I enter this prompt, Joule already recognizes, okay, when we want to add that, we most likely need to touch the view and the controller. And it also notices that my project has a models.js, which I think is, holding. I can quickly check that up front. Just test the device model right now. So I'm going back to my Joule panel and I can see the response. So let's take a look at that. It provides me some information to say, let's go ahead, and it tells me, okay, it does changes in main controller, the models.js, and the main view. As always with AI, you should not take anything for granted and double check. And I can see here that it enhanced the model.js with the create Champions League model function. So I have the possibility now to accept or copy this code. Since I have my model open here, I will copy that and I will paste it just here because I can see it added this create Champions League model method. This looks good, about 25 rows of data also in my model, and I'll save that. And also here for the controller, I can see it sets the model. So also here, this looks good. So I'm going to my controller and I'm going to accept this coding. And also in my view, you can also see, in addition to the copy, I can also directly accept the code. Also taking a look here at my main view before I accept this beforehand, I can see I just don't really have any content at some empty page. So I go ahead and I see, okay, it added a responsive table with a title, Champions League standings, club placement, goals, and the data binding to the model that has been added. So I'm happy with that. I accept it. Okay, I can now see right here. Okay, it says there are some empty ID attributes. We could, of course, also ask the AI to add this, but I will accept this for now. Okay, so let's take a look at the application. And I can see, yeah, I already got some data now in my application. It also looks good, Champions League standings. I can't really judge the data too much, but on the first glance, it looks good to me. So I'm happy with that. So this just gives you an idea on how the general / command works. And I want to give you another idea on how you could use this to improve more simpler tasks. So let's say we can already see here, although I'm happy with the result, I'm not really happy with how it's implemented. I can see here the columns, they are just added with hard-coded text. So I can see here club placement, goals. This is not too nice. We can see on the same view, it already has like bindings to our i18n model. So I also would like to have this for my columns as well. So again, this time I already have a prompt, so I can already, as Joule recommends, type /. I again get the list of available / commands for my project. I again use /UI5. And what I'm going to do this time is I say, make sure that the text in my table are properly translated. Enable i18n and create German translations. You can notice again, I really just try to ask for the bare minimum. I'm not really specifying on where and how I want this to be resolved. But again, we can see it looks promising. It's touching the proper files. We can see the i18n properties and also the manifest JSON. So let's wait a second. Because since I'm also asking for German translations, what I'm looking forward here to is that not just the files get adjusted, but of course I also want to have a new property file for my German translations. Okay, So let's scroll to the beginning of this response. So the first thing that it says is update the I18N properties to include the new text. So judging by this, I can see my old title. This is still looking good. And what I can see, table headers, it added some text in the property file. So I can see in my I18N properties, there's only like the generic file. So I'm going to accept that. I can see also it directly shows how the file that changed looked afterwards. And I can also see in the second step that it creates a new file for I18N_DE properties. So I can see here also the German translations. They look good, so I'm going to accept that. And I can see it added a new file, place this in the proper folder. And with that, let's also see what it done in addition. Nice, this is the last change I would have expected that I see in the main.view.xml. It also uses the according bindings to the I18N model instead of the hard-coded values. So I'm going to accept that. So this looks good. I'm taking a look at, okay, it also says include the new I18N model. So as the app is already properly set up to use I18N, I assume it double-checked this. But I'm not accepting this right now because since it's already set up, I would assume this to already work. I can maybe check in the app if it works. So I can see the default is still English. I'm going to switch to SAP UI language TE. And I can see it looks good. So I can see, yeah, it even translated the table text here above. It now says Tabelle, Verein, Platzierung, Tore. So this is looking good. So as always, when working with AI, always make sure to double check the results and not blindly accept them, of course. But I know this is always true when working with AI, of course. So now you get an idea on how you can resolve redundant tasks with Joule. And one thing that I want to show you in addition that I just noticed when we created this data for our table is it created this create champions league model here function in the models.js. And it kind of seems to be oriented on the create device model here where it says var, old model, new JSON model. So I'm not too familiar with what this exact JSON model here is. Why do I need it? Of course, I am knowing what it does, but I just pretend I don't. So I'm again going to my /UI5 command, and I'm just marking this code, and I'm asking, what does the selected code do? And can it be improved? And I will see what Joule will tell me. So already here also, it recognizes even some more files that it considers to check up for this recommendation. And let's scroll to the beginning. So we can see explanation of the selected code. And it also says in the beginning, the selected code defines a function that creates a JSON model containing the data. I'm not going to read it completely through, but you get the idea. So this is here to get a basic understanding. If you maybe take a look at code that you haven't written yourself, that you're looking at in a UI5 application, for instance, or want to get some information about maybe modules that are used or something like that. And it also gives us possible improvements. So I can see here already some buzzwords like modularization, documentation, data validation. So I can see it actually extracted this into a variable. It's now using const instead of var. And also, yeah, if the try catch block is really necessary about the new JSON model creation is arguably, but I can see it actually provided some value, and I could now go ahead and accept this. And yeah, these are some of the ideas that I can give you on what you can do with the standards Joule /command. Now, as Margot already mentioned in the beginning, there's also something new available. So let me close that to avoid confusion. You can also clear the history when working with Joule. And you can see when I created this application, I actually created it in JavaScript. So when you create new applications in UI5, it's of course always recommended and a nice thing to directly work with TypeScript and set up your project properly with the available generators and tooling provided by UI5. But as we know, there's still a majority of applications that is implemented in JavaScript that require some effort to be migrated. And so there's also now a convenience functionality available that you can use in Joule, and this is next to /UI5/UI5 TypeScript. So I'm going to select this time, and I can directly see I get some recommendations as migrate the project setup to TypeScript. So it also tells me that I can migrate, like, for instance, the models.js file, which is the file I just had opened, or it says even that I could migrate multiple files at once. Before I do that, I go ahead and migrate the project setup of my app. So what I'm looking forward to here is that the project setup files like the UI5 YAML and also necessary dependencies that are required for TypeScript are added to my package.json file. So I'm going to migrate the setup of the project to TypeScript. And while it's thinking, maybe some words of explanation. So also here, this is a mix of AI tooling in addition to logic that, for instance, checks the NPM registry for the latest available versions of the certain packages that are going to be used. And so it's in the end a combination of AI and also logic to provide a good result for the TypeScript migration. Also for the TypeScript migration, it's usually a lot of files at once that you might want to migrate. So the visualization is also a bit different. So we're going to start here. You can see this time, you don't see this markdown blocks, but this time you can see this file list visualization. And you can see that you can click on these files since it's a nice overview to have it in this diff visualization. And you can see here, okay, the comment doesn't necessarily need to be deleted, but this time AI decided that this comment is not required. But you can see here what we were looking forward to is adding the sections in the server for the tooling transpile and the builder section. Going to the package.json, I can also see here the necessary modules are being updated. TS node, TypeScript, the UI5 types, and tooling transpile. This looks good. And it even updated UI5 CLI. Of course, also here, this is meant that you can double check it. Since this is not a classic transpiling, you should, of course, always double check if this is what you're looking forward to. And last but not least, the package, the TS config JSON has been added. Of course, before there was no TypeScript, so it's not a diff. And I can now go ahead and accept this. And what I can see is my project got updated. I got the TS config, the YAML has been updated as I wanted it, and also the package JSON has been enhanced. I also get a brief overview of changes here, what has been done, which files have been changed, and what exactly has been done in the YAML package JSON. And I also get the hint, of course, since I added new modules that I need to retrigger an npm install. I'm going to quickly do that in my project. Of course, depending on whichever package manager you're using, you might also need to do a yarn install. So I'm going to do that. Okay. I could, of course, again use the application preview from Business Application Studio. Since I was already on the terminal, I just used the npm run start to go with the default. Okay, so let me refresh that. Okay, my app is running again, so this looks good. So after I've updated my project setup, I can see in the TS config, it's set up to allow JavaScript, that I don't have like a breaking change that I now need to adapt everything at once. So I can now go ahead and let's say I wanna start with the, let's say with the component.js, a rather simple one. So I can go ahead again to my Joule panel and go with /UI5 TypeScript. And I can see the second recommendation is indicating the file that I'm currently working on and asking me if I want to migrate this one to TypeScript. So I'm going to do that. And also here, you can, of course, freely write a text and type whichever files you would like to be migrated. But it's, of course, always recommended to do it in smaller batches, ideally file per file. And check if the results are as you expected, and you can see also it's working quite fast. So I can see here now, it even double checked the setup, even after just asking for a file change. It noticed my project is properly set up, so there are no file changes necessary. And I can take a look at the TypeScript file for my component TS file. I will briefly take a look over this. Okay, might be a little boring example. We don't really have any return values in the function or any arguments, which is why we not really have too much benefits here. This is just using imports instead of the classic UI5 define syntax and creating classes as export modules. But I'm going to accept that. And if I now go again back to my project, I can see when I press accept, it takes care of deleting the component.js file and using the component TS file. So with that, I can go back to my project. It's of course now not too much in terms of a visual part. Oh, I even still have a breakpoint set up, but you can now see it's using the component TS. I can even debug it. My project is properly set up, and I could now go forward and migrate file per file to TypeScript, or also some smaller batches at once. Okay, so that would be the part for the GenAI and UI5 Joule. Thank you, and I would gladly answer questions from the chat if there are any.
Thanks a lot. There have been a couple of questions which have been answered already in the chat, but maybe we want to mention one or two of them again. So the last one was about these /UI5, /UI5 TypeScript and so on. And there are going to be more and more of those commands. And this might be confusing and hard to find out the right one. And indeed, inside UI5, we already have a feature that when it just types /UI5, what you ask for TypeScript migration, under the hood, we will recognize this and invoke the code that is normally invoked when you type /UI5 TypeScript. And also for other features we are working on. So this is not the end. There's some support. I think we can announce this coming now soon for creating a new view and setting up the routing, creating a controller, and setting up the navigation. So which is a complex step that is always a bit tedious. That's going to be another such / command. But again, if you just type /UI5 and ask for a new view, you will automatically get the feature. But also in Joule in general, in Build Code, it's also going in this direction. I think that you don't need to type those / commands, but that it's gonna recognize what the user wants and then invoke the right one. It's maybe just a shortcut when you know exactly what you want to do and want to get it fast and want no mistake, want to have the right one picked, then you can type the / command, but in the future, I think it's not gonna be necessary as far as I know. So no guarantees for anything, of course. So that was one thing. Talking about new features, also something we should mention, by the way, is that those features are coming out like every 2 weeks. We are adding and we are fixing bugs and so on. And so what Martin has shown right now, that's what is going to be deployed end of next week. So it's already there, also the TypeScript stuff. But inside the TypeScript stuff, we have recognized some glitches that are going to be improved end of next week when you use it then. So 21st of November or 22nd, so it will be there, but we are gonna improve and add every 2 weeks. So this is in constant flow. And other questions have been about whether this is available in VS Code. And we are just providing a plugin to Build Code Joule here. So you would have to ask more or less product management of Build Code. So how is the availability in Build Code? It's not just an extension, it's also the connection to the AI core service and how is the AI access built and so on. So it's not just an isolated piece of code that we could give away. Also, it's part of Build Code, and wherever this runs, this Joule and our plugin also runs. Yeah, and then there was a question about Hungarian notation. Yeah, in JavaScript, we still recommend it, sort of, I think.
We got this question quite often, that we would recommend Hungarian notation, and this is actually not really true. I mean, what is true is that we, for developing our framework, are using Hungarian notation, and that's also why our code is using this. But we would never say that you also have to do this. So it's up to you how you want to write your JavaScript code.
Yeah, thanks for stepping in. But the template, for example, contains it, so it looks like a suggestion from our side. But basically for the TypeScript conversion, we could also, like, I don't think this is happening, but we could also suggest that Hungarian notation is removed, because in TypeScript we definitely don't want to use it because the types are known anyway.
Exactly. You could even do it right now if you would like add it to the prompt and say, please also get rid of the Hungarian notation. I think this would also work quite well with the current state, but we're not doing it out of the box right now. Yes.
We could check how it works and then also include this in the prompt, so to say that we get rid of the Hungarian notation, at least for the TypeScript converted code.
So, second topic. Who wants to jump in?
Yeah, hi, I'm Florian, and I will start the topic. So Matthias and myself are from the UI5 core team, and we have the honor today to present you an really interesting topic, which might be a little bit hidden over the last time, but we want to present it to you, which is called the test starter. The test starter is a concept which we internally in UI5 used already since a long time, but we have never rolled it out to applications. And now the team worked on to bring that also to the applications. And yeah, that's a really powerful feature because it allows you to simplify your test setup. And that is one of the goals, that you can get rid of a lot of boilerplate code in your test setup for QUnit and for OPA tests, which you might already know that you have all these different HTML sites, you have to import specific scripts, and this is something what can be omitted with the test starter concept. The test starter already ensures that all the needed testing frameworks like QUnit, Sinon, they are already loaded, and they are loaded asynchronously, which is also a good thing, that you don't have any synchronous requests any longer in your code. And you also comply with the content security policy regarding that. Additionally, the test starter allows you to configure these testing frameworks. So it offers a configuration option to configure the QUnit, the Sinon, and in a really comfortable way. And we heavily recommend to use the test starter to migrate your applications to the test starter concept. And to give you an overview how easy it is, Matthias will make a demo and show you how easy it is.
So I will going to present this in the OpenUI5 TypeScript walkthrough tutorial. So if you don't know that, you should definitely check it out. It's a tutorial that explains a lot of our framework features in individual steps. So it covers a lot of topics. It actually has 38 steps, so that's a lot. And 2 steps of that is also testing. And I'm just going to show you those 2 steps. So if you want to do that, you usually download the solutions. So if you don't want to start from the first one, download the solution from the previous one. So in this case, it would be step 26. And I did that already. So I have this project here locally prepared. And also the NPM, the server already running. So now let's start with the step 27. So here we create a formatter unit test for the code we already wrote. And I already created the file of the test, because that also hasn't really changed much with this test starter concept, if you know this already, except for importing the modules you want to test. So here we added a note that you should always use the complete namespace of the productive code. So in this case, our namespace is UI5 walkthrough, instead of having a relative import to your formatter here from the test code. That's because we use different namespaces. So this just doesn't work anymore. So that's important here to notice. And then the next step would be, so for example, if we want to have then in the future more tests, it makes sense to group them in a QUnit tests file. So I'm just going to do that here. and also add just this line to import our formatted test. Then the next step would be to create a generic test page. So this is the replacement of what previously you had a test page in HTML for every test you want to run in the browser. Now we just have this one. And it's built in a generic way that we can run all our tests of our project with it. So that's this run test script provided by the test starter. All we need to do here specifically for our project is registering the resource roots, similar to the UI5 bootstrap script, that it knows where to load our modules from.
But the resource root here in this case is really for the test resources, yeah.
Yes, here it's just the test resources so that our test suite and also the tests can be loaded. Yeah. So I also have to speed up a bit here to not run out of time. But hopefully I can make it. So now that's, I think, the first interesting topic here. We have a test suite QUnit TS file, which has this configuration. So that's all new and part of this test starter concept. Florian mentioned the documentation. We don't have type definitions for this one yet, but that's our wish to also provide in the future. So you have to refer to the documentation here currently. And I'm also just creating this page here quickly, and then we'll explain a bit more what we have here. So this is now the corresponding HTML page to our configuration, and it's also very generic using this create suite script. We refer to the test suite module by our test resources module namespace, and also register the resource roots. So if I did everything correctly, we now open this test suite QUnit HTML in my browser. You will get this timeout. You may have quickly seen. That's something we are actually changing with the next version of UI5 because for example, for accessibility reasons, it's not really ideal that we have such an automatic timeout, which would redirect you to a test starter that you also get here if you click on run all. So that's why we have changed this, and we'll also then document how to get this timeout back if you want to have it. That will then be part of the next UI5 version with 131. But for now, I just click away this timeout, and we see our one test here. So I can click on the test, and in the URL, you see that we are using this test QUnit HTML page with parameters, so it knows which test to run. So that's now able to run multiple tests. And now back to the configuration. How does this work? So you can define some defaults that will apply for all the tests you define here below. And the page that should be used for all the tests, also with the placeholder for the test suite and the test itself. So that's still a bit of boilerplate here because it's also then different for other projects because the namespace is part of it. And then we have configurations such as the QUnit version. Also, UI5 configuration can be added.
Maybe Matthias got a short question also on the page, because you see also this protocol in front. I think that's also something to mention about this speciality, that this is then the module syntax. And also the question would then immediately come up, is this also possible to use an HTTP-based protocol? No, I would say. So it's just to make clear that
we recommend using the UI5 protocol, because then you always refer to the right module or right page within the project. But you can use it without a protocol. Then it's a path just relative to the HTML page where you
So
call it
this
from.
resolves now with our resource, with this resource roots configurations.
Yes.
That's the important part
That's
to
why
explain.
we need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, and now, yeah, configuration of the theme. And the loader configuration, now that's the productive namespace we want to register. And as we are in the test folder here, it's one folder up, as the web app folder is the main folder of our code. And then here I declare the test. And in this case, this is a shortcut that I chose. So if you put a module name, or actually the shortcut for module name as the title or as the name of the test here, not the title below, it will automatically try to load this module here. So it's a relative path to that, and then .QUnit is added automatically. But what I can also do now, and I will quickly, for a time reason, check out my demo solution. Sorry. No. What you can also do is, so I added also the integration test here. That's then the next step. What you can also do now easily is run the same test twice with different configuration. And I think that's very handy and required more effort and more boilerplate before. So this test now needs to be specified, the module needs to be specified of our test, because this can't be resolved anymore. So the default module is resolved from this name here, but if you specify a module, this will be used. And then I can provide the UI5 configuration. So in this case, I'm testing the Arabic language with right to left. So if I open this in my browser again and need to start the server, it takes a bit. Yeah. Then you see that it is using right to left and runs the integration tests there. So it's pretty easy to have such of a test matrix where you want to test the same feature with different configuration, or yeah, whatever settings or things you could think of or need.
Maybe I missed that part in the beginning, but maybe we can you summarize in 1-2 sentences the benefits of this new format now?
Well, yeah, you get rid of the HTML boilerplate. You don't need to maintain your 5 bootstraps anymore in multiple places for several tests, because everything is in here, CSP compliance. Yeah, that's, I think,
also that we completely get rid of the ordering of scripts and stuff like that. So we ensure that the modules are loaded then properly upfront,
you
and
don't
the
have
right
to
versions.
wait for the core init event,
exactly.
for example.
So it solves a lot of the issues
yeah.
and pitfalls we had before with our old test starters. And it's one of the directions to make this whole testing approach and configuration more declarative. And this allows also in the future the evolution of the tooling on top of that.
Did we have any questions we might to answer in the chat or online?
There's one question from Marian. Not sure if you just answered it indirectly. Why not just use SAP UX preview middleware to set up my QUnit tests?
That's a thing from Dominic Heim.
Yeah, there have been also some improvements, I think, this year also, to not have to have this some of those files at least.
Technically, they generate our files in the background, what were there before. It's not yet synchronized with the latest test runner. That's something we need to do together with them. So, but yeah, till now we didn't officially.
Hopefully, this builds on top of what we did here.
It needs to. So I was in touch already with them, and we will also synchronize that once we are now ready.
Yeah, I think it's still important that we also, as the OpenUI5 project, offer something better than we had before, as Fiori tools is then a bit different and not part of the complete open source as far as I know. Maybe it's also an open source middleware.
And the middleware itself is open
Yeah.
source, the OpenUX. But anyhow, technically it creates this foundation, this boilerplate, and so this needs to be there that the other thing works. And it's good to understand what's there below,
Yes.
because this is what runs. And if there is an issue, you know how the internals look like and you can check that. So that's also, by all the things we add on top and we simplify things, yeah, this takes away a lot of things you need to do and you need to know. But if it comes to troubleshooting, the internals still need to be known. And then it's good that you have some insights in that.
Maybe one last thing to mention. So we are still working on improving our documentation here. So we, with the next version, hopefully also have a bit more examples like I showed here with the configuration, also in our dev guide. So this is also not part of the walkthrough step, what I showed here, but we will improve that in the near future as well.
Yeah, but having maybe support for typing and stuff like that, which helps you to
Yes,
know what kind of properties are
also
available here,
yeah.
this would be really a cool benefit. And then we can also add some documentation there inside, which come up and show while typing.
I just sent it to the chat to everyone, the config options, which is also a sub-page of the dev guide. So there we documented all the different config options for the test starter, and you can which defaults are used by the test starter. So have a look on that one for as long as we have not the types available.
With this, we are at the end for today. And I hope we see all of you then next time again. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. Ciao.
Bye.